All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 2018 WinTax preview. I'm Scott Dalton. I'm one of the lead developers here at Taxware Systems. Today in this webinar, I'm going to touch on some of the major changes and highlights of the program that have been added over the summer, either due to enhancements or to some of the tax law changes that took place. Just a couple housekeeping items. Due to background noise and microphone feedback, we will mute everyone's microphone. If you have a question, feel free to type it into the chat window, and someone at Taxware, I've got a couple guys monitoring the chat window, they'll either answer you back, and then at the very end, we'll open that chat window up, and I'll be happy to field any questions at that time. All right, well, we wanted to start, and I just wanted to quickly kind of talk about our timeline of release, because that's changed a little bit. We're going to do things just a little different this year. Starting hopefully around December 10th, we're actually going to make the 2018 program available as a beta test, and that'll be available on our website to download. Please read the instructions that come along with that download page. It is a test version. If you do find any problems with the software, go ahead and email those to support@taxwaresystems.com and include as much detail as you can, even some client data if you find anything. Right now we're going through the process of kind of pre-testing before that's made available. And then we're actually going to release the WinTax module a little bit earlier this year as a download. It should be available around December 19th in our normal downloads page. So if you don't have an active Taxware website client login, go ahead and activate that, because those downloads will be available for you a little bit earlier this year. And then just the last calendar item, on January 7th is our annual in-person seminar. We have a lot of people signing up for that, but if you're interested in coming to that seminar, we have details on our website on how to fill out that application and to send your money for the annual seminar, which will be held again at the Azure Hotel right next to Ontario Airport. So we hope to see as many of you there as can make it. It's always fun to put a name to a face. All right, let's go ahead and jump in. The first thing we're going to show you is, advance my slide here. The 1040 line input screen has been obviously completely redesigned to match the new 1040 form. This is probably visually the biggest change in the program, and we'll go ahead and open that now. Let's use test 2 here. Raise that a little bit so we can all see it. Okay, so I don't know how many. Matt, can you mute everybody for me? Thank you. I don't know how many of you have already seen the new 1040, but the 1040 basically removed all of the income items except for your basic wages and pensions. Your major tax adjustments are all on separate subschedules. So the IRS basically created Schedule 1 through 5 and moved all those items over to those schedules. And they cover your Schedule C's, your basic income items, your tax items, a lot of your credit infos. One thing that they did do that I kind of like, actually we'll just go into, let's just go into Schedule 1. You can see everything kind of got moved over. The tax code, they really didn't get rid of too many things. They just kind of moved a lot of things around. In fact, on the instructions, it's kind of nice. Let me open up a Schedule 5 here. Schedule 3 should work too. And we'll preview that real quick. Bring it on over. So they've left the line numbers the same, which makes referencing their documentation, their forms and pubs, pretty easy. So as you're going through Schedule 1 through 5, you will see quite a few reserved lines, and they've done that on purpose so that the instructions still match. Because right now the current tax law change is it's not permanent. It has expiration date, so they've set everything up to basically have it revert back pretty cleanly and easily. But also it makes it, when you're looking up the different tax pubs and things, a lot easier to kind of navigate and still keep the line numbers in essence kind of the same. Let's see, what else to... Yeah, just kind of a side note. Hopefully everybody's aware they got rid of the 1040A as well as the 1040EZ. Those are no longer there. And then there are a few people that really dive into the e-file record. They look at the XML, and just as kind of an FYI item, they actually left the main XML as the old 1040 long format, so it doesn't actually kick out to Schedule 1 through 5 when you're looking at the XML if you have a reject. I personally kind of like that. I like being able to look at all of the information versus just condensed on the XML. But that's probably one of the biggest changes is the 1040 line input is now just your basic info, your wage items, and then everything else kicks out to Schedule 1 through 5. All right. One of the things we wanted to talk about and is this year that all of the federal forms and schedules are native to NextGen. And I know that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you, the end user, but last year NextGen shared a lot of the forms and schedules into legacy. We still do that for about half of our states, but this enables everything to be native, and it makes the breadcrumb navigation a little bit cleaner. And I'll just show you that real quick. Going to like Schedule C. If I had gone into a legacy form, this breadcrumb navigation would no longer, it would stop at the point where we had to access a legacy state. Now that everything is native, part of our C# application or NextGen application, your breadcrumb navigation is cleaner, as well as your screens pop a lot faster. Now, one thing that we did do that I really kind of like, we were able to figure out for those few states that are remaining, we're able to just embed that legacy state inside of our NextGen application. So Mississippi is still a legacy state, and when I fire that off, it will look like it's still part of that main application. If I were to move my PowerPoint, versus a native state. Get my program back up here. PowerPoint's fighting me a little bit. Versus this is the new layout for the native states. Say sure. So as you can see, our native states have a new modern look. We use our Metro tiles. Just an overall better look. In addition to that, having so much information available, it makes the F12 live view just more effective. And just to kind of let you know, the S Corp and the C Corp are the next programs slated, and this summer they'll be part of this NextGen package as well. All right. Covered that. So I think that's all I kind of wanted to cover on the native forms and schedules. They're just faster in general. The next major change that I wanted to bounce into was talk about QBI, Section 199 Cap A information. It was actually pretty good that we were able to attend the Software Developers Conference this year. They ended up holding it significantly later this year. I'm sure they were still kind of dialing in a lot of their tax laws and pubs. And, of course, QBI was one of the main things that kind of came up. So our qualified business income, or QBI, or the section code is Section 199 Cap A. This year, it's basically just a line item. They are developing two worksheets, a long form and a short form worksheet. But when we were back in Washington, D.C., they let us know that those worksheets were not going to be available at the very earliest until basically the end of December. Now, what they did do is up on their screen, they had an Excel sheet, and the question came up, how close is that Excel sheet to what the worksheets will be? And she said it's very close. So I quickly pulled out my camera phone and snapped a shot of that slide that they had up on the screen, and we were able to develop this QBI section, which in essence will be the short form worksheet. Now those worksheets are coming down. They won't be part of the e-file package this year, but we were told that they will be part of the e-file package next year, which means those worksheets will be, they'll have the subsequent XML, and the IRS will expect them. This year, it's just a line item on the 1040. This is currently a little bit of a guess, again, based on that prelim Excel sheet that they had at the Software Developers Conference, but it should be pretty close. The way that we're handling QBI, well, first, like our note says here, this is a bit of a guesstimate because, again, we don't have the finalized worksheets, so we allow you an override. But we feel like this is going to be pretty close, pretty accurate, taking into account the threshold information and the special services information that are going to come out later in the pubs and whatnot. So to basically do and handle your QBI transactions, we've tied in, and everything should automatically carry from your Schedule C's, E's, F's, 4835s, and your K1 input items. So let's play with that a little bit. Let's go into a Schedule C. And we've added this section to those schedules. Basically, are you eligible for qualified business income deduction? We're going to say yes, we are. If you have any basis that needs to go over the worksheet, you would specify that here. And then that's pretty much it. We're going to come out of our Schedule C and go back into our QBI. This is just kind of an informational page. And now we see that Schedule C is listed here, and that will be ready to go to the specified worksheet. If you needed to make a change to that Schedule C, you can double-click it right on that QBI screen, and it'll take you to, in this case, a Schedule C. If that were a Schedule E transaction or a K1 transaction, then it would take us directly to that particular page. So we kept the math simple. We have $1,000 on our Schedule C, 20% of that, and now that will flow back to our QBI line on our 1040. Just one note to kind of go into the K1s because it is slightly different. So just be aware that if you're using Taxware's partnership S-Corp programs, these lines will come over automatically for you. If you're just gathering a K1 from a tax client, then just be aware of this bottom section. All deals with Section 199 Cap A, and you can manually enter those amounts, and then they will go through and be calculated on the overall QBI worksheet. Let's put $50. We will now bounce out. And now you see that K1 transaction is displayed here. We have our $50, and that calculates all the way through. One item to note, actually I'll note that over on the Schedule C. We added a note on the Schedule C, EF 4835. Is this a specified service business? This would only come into play if they're over the income thresholds, and they are those IRS predefined categories like tax preparers. Goodness, I'm drawing a blank right now. Tax preparers, attorneys, and the other specified businesses where there are going to be some limitations based on income threshold. So the calculations should take place for you automatically if this particular Schedule C applies to that service. Now, we did try to nail down the IRS a little bit on some of those specified services, and they brought up an interesting test case of a hairdresser where the hairdresser could write off, or part of it would be part of a specified business and another part of it wouldn't be. And it really wasn't clear on which part would be a specified business and which one wasn't. And the room kind of went back in a circle. And we're all hoping that the IRS, when they finally publish those worksheets and the publications, that they get a little bit more detailed. But for now, just do your best to figure out if they qualify for that. And again, it doesn't really apply unless they're over the income thresholds anyway. All right. And again, because those are prelim worksheets, if you feel like your calculation is more correct, feel free to use that override. It will fly this year because, again, it's not part of the e-file record. But the following year, obviously, those worksheets will have to match up. I only mention that just because we generally tell you to stay away from overrides if you're planning on e-filing, because it almost always results in a rejected return. But in that particular case, because the information is so prelim, we've provided that override for you, and it should be just fine. All right. Let's see. Kind of covered a lot of this stuff. Okay, yeah. We've changed our automatic updating system. The old system would basically, anytime it was checking for an update, a pop-up window would come up and kind of get in everyone's road. Now the system will check to see if there's an update available in the background. A pop-up won't display unless there's an actual update that can be applied. You can still say no, that you don't want to apply the update, but per the IRS specs, after about 2 weeks of saying no, we're going to go ahead and force you to make the update. That's been kind of a recent change that the IRS made in their trusted customer document, and they just wanted to make sure that everybody's software was up to date. Unfortunately, it seems like every year goes by, and one of the support techs will take a call, and it'll be like April, and they'll say, "Well, what version are you on?" And they say 1.1, and the tech would have to work with them and get them up to date. It's kind of fun. All right. The billing. We have made some major changes to the billing. Well, not major. We've just enhanced it quite a bit. So the billing is now snapshot based, and that allows the changes to the default amounts and your default bill, and I'll bounce into the program here in just a minute and show you, without actually affecting the tax returns billing itself. So in the tax return, you can modify the bill and bring those defaults over. The nice thing about the new billing is they can be reloaded by clicking the Restore Defaults Rates button. But you can also set up different bills that can be brought in and change kind of on the fly just to this one bill. So let's say your normal default bill, profile bill, is your normal bill, but then you have a cousin walk in the office and you don't want to charge them as much. You can set up like a friends and family bill, and then just select that bill versus your normal bill, and then still make any adjustments or discounts that you'd like. So let me bounce into the program and show you how that kind of works. And first we'll actually go to defaults and settings, billing setup. So in here, you're going to set up your bill. If you want to create a new bill or change a bill, you can just select the create a new bill option here, and it'll bring in an empty bill schedule. And you just put in your rates like normal. Say we're going to charge $50 for a 1040, $100 for a 1040X, whatever. Then you go back over and you title that bill, and now that bill is saved as one of your profiles that you can use. Let's go back into our return here. And this time we'll go over to, let's assume we're finished with that tax return. We'll go into our billing information. And so we'll show you a few things here. First, let's restore our main bill. And first, you can bring that information in, but now, unlike the other system, we can go in and change our amounts. Let's say, for whatever reason, for this particular return, we wanted to reduce that. For a Schedule D, we could go in and bump that up, and it's going to retain all that information with the tax return. Inevitably, what would happen in the old legacy systems is you'd have your bill and your default bill, and if you change that default bill back in defaults and settings and then came back into the return and recalculated it, that billing is now going to be part of that return. Now the program takes what we call a snapshot and remembers that information. And then kind of back to our other test case scenario, if you had cousin Joe come in and you wanted to apply this particular bill profile, I'll just click that, and now you'll see our rates automatically change to that other bill profile. You can still make any adjustments that you want to make to the bill with description, or you can just manually change those items right on the itemized schedule itself. And we still have the same defaults that were there. If you don't want to print a list on the bill, you can uncheck that, and we didn't get rid of any of these options. We just added a little bit more flexibility to your rate schedules, as well as being able to pick different bills on the fly, which is kind of a nice feature. All right, let's see. That's all we want to cover on that. Okay, this is kind of a small thing, but we added a client list. Let's see. There we go. This is kind of a small thing, but you can now export your client list directly into Excel document. This kind of came as a suggestion from our legacy clients that were used to importing their client list directly into Excel. We use a different internal little database for your client lists now, so that option was taken away. But in your tax reports, there's a new option, option 27, and that will export your client list directly to Excel. We can just show you where that's at. It's here. It's a pretty simple function. Whatever's in your client list is going to get exported out, and then you can modify and adjust whatever fields you want in that particular Excel file as needed. So pretty simple, easy to use. right. The other major changes that we made are in our ELF tracker. And I'm kind of excited about these, so spend just a minute in here. So first, in the ELF tracker, we have 2 tabs now. So the expanded, which is what you're currently used to seeing, has a transaction per gov code. So it's very possible, if you have a federal return and this person has 2 states and they were using a bank product and they filed extension, you could have potentially 5 records sitting in this grid. And that was all useful information. And we didn't want to take that away, but we also understand that that's a lot of information. So we added this Condensed tab this year, and I just think this is really cool. So the Condensed tab has 1 transaction per taxpayer, and then off to the side, let me see if I can find. Let's find Test Mabel here. Yeah, that's better. Then off to the side, you basically have those same records sitting here. So it's just a little bit easier, a little bit faster way to find the individual taxpayer's record using our search tools, and then kind of drill down and go, okay, Fed was accepted, kind of what's going on with this return. In addition to that, this year we are integrating our bank acknowledgments. I know not too many people use a lot of bank products, but we still have a significant number that do, and we wanted a nice, clean placeholder for you guys to be able to see your bank acknowledgments as well as your state acknowledgments. Another nice thing that we added is, let's say, we'll just use Johnny Appleseed. We added a reprint all acts button, and so on one page for Johnny Appleseed, I have my Fed accepted, I have my state accepted, and then we had 1 bank product rejected. So it's just kind of a nice, clean print for that one client, just to keep track of. You might even, those are all PDFs, so they can even be added to your PDF archive system. So yeah, we're pretty excited about the way that came out. Of course, we have our history. Need to do a little more testing there. Let's pick this one. All right. Well, this is still test software. We got to figure that out. But the history icon, I wanted to touch on this. This will be working. A lot of people aren't aware that this exists, and this is just a nice feature because it shows you the entire history of that particular tax return, when it went up to the server, when it was acknowledged, and if you needed to reprocess that acknowledgement, you can actually do it here. I wonder if, let me try one more thing here. Let's try. Yeah, Donovan and I were playing around with this yesterday, and I think we got that object mixed up, but it will be working. In that history section, there's a place for you to reprocess your acts. There's a button off to the right, and that's a nice feature. It makes it so you don't have to call Taxware and say, can you rehang my act? You actually have access to rehang your own act and have that reprocess the return right inside of NextGen. We will get that working for you by the time it goes up to the beta test season, and it's a good feature. All right, let's see here. Hopefully most of you are familiar with our live view. This is going to be difficult to show you in a web meeting, but we will attempt it anyway. Move that off to the side here. And we'll move that and divide that screen. So live view, we kind of, let me see what that looks like. All right, so hopefully that's not too small for you to see. This is primarily designed for people with dual monitors, where you'd have basically the live view section kind of off to the left or the right, and your main program kind of off to the left or the right. The live view, it'll keep track of where you're at with the return, and it will automatically update. So basically kind of think of the live view as your forms preview, but completely current. So let's go into, it's so small it's hard to work with, but we're going to try it anyway. So now we're in Schedule 1. Now we're going to go into Schedule C. Don't be alarmed when you get a blank page like that. It just doesn't know what Schedule C I wanted yet. So we'll select one, and that's that Schedule C. And we'll make a change, and we'll say that was a mistake, and it was really supposed to be $5,000. And as soon as I hit enter, you'll see our $3,500 automatically calculate. So I just think that's a really cool feature. When I was at a few seminars, IRS seminars this year, it was kind of surprising to me how many clients that I would talk to that didn't know this feature existed. So I just wanted to point it out to you. It was actually in NextGen last year as well. So it's not a new feature, but I just wanted to make sure you knew it was there. And again, to get at that, you just hit the F12 key, and it will pop up anytime you want it. So if I was in, I don't know, a different part of the return, let's see, we'll go into Schedule D this time, and for some reason I wanted my live view to go, we'll hit F12, and my live view comes up. And again, normally you just kind of drag that over to a different monitor. So that's kind of a nice feature. Let's show you a little bit about our TextLint integration. Hopefully you've seen that integration with our in our last newsletter, but we recently formed a partnership with a company called TextLint, and basically they make it so it is a paid service. So there is a subscription. We have a link to them off of our website to learn more. But it makes it so you can use texting. Taxware provided a texting capability inside of our text center, but you had to tell it what service your particular client's cell phone was using, Verizon or T-Mobile or what have you. TextLint takes care of that for you, so you don't have to worry about that. But in addition to that, they also have marketing campaigns via text. So they gather, birth date information, and you can kind of customize if you want a birthday campaign or different marketing strategies or just reminders of, hey, tax season's coming up, please set your appointment, those type of things. So if you contact TextLint and subscribe to their service, it's pretty simple. You just go into defaults and settings, and you'll see these two options. So you set your security code that they'll give you once you subscribe with your TextLint account, and then you really want to check this box to automatically update TextLint with your clients when you exit the program. So if these are checked and filled out, when you are
muted.
Muted. Like in your expanded information, when you go to text a client, it's going to pop this screen, but you'll see that it says TextLint, and there's just a few more options in there as well. So it's a good system. So far, that partnership's been really nice. So you might check that out on our website. The last thing I wanted to talk about is password protection. And actually, we'll show you where that is in miscellaneous features. We made this more robust per the IRS specs, and we just want to make sure that you're aware of the password protection. So if you enter a password, you do have the ability to unlock or lock and unlock certain sections of the program. This is handy with service bureaus and whatnot. But in addition to that, the IRS really recommends that you use a strong password system. That is available in your Windows 10 operating system to where you can have it prompt you for passwords and whatnot. But we found that a lot of people don't like to lock down their operating system, but the IRS still recommends that passwords are used. So we added this functionality into the program to where it's going to follow basically the IRS specs on password usage. It's going to ask you to change your password every 90 days. If that's checked, if the program hasn't been used for I forgot. It's like a half hour. It's going to force you to re-log in. So there's a lot of features behind this password. We do recommend that you use some sort of a password system, especially if you're in an office that has heavy foot traffic, multiple preparers. If you have a lobby where people could accidentally see, a screen, passwords need to be used, and of course we all need to be diligent in making sure that SSNs aren't out prevalent for the whole world to see. Identity theft is a big issue, and it's not going away anytime soon. Let's all do our part and see if we can't help those situations out. All right, I think that is the major stuff for the 28 preview. Before we look at some of our chat questions, just kind of an FYI item. The manual is about to go to print for the annual seminar. It's free available as a PDF. But if you would like a printed copy of the manual, if you could let us know by December 12th, because that's when we're going to finalize the order for the annual seminar, the in-person seminar. So if you could let us know before December 12th that you would like a copy, and of course let us know who you are, your client ID, that you would like a copy of the manual, and you can just send that information to support@taxwaresystems.com. And then there is a fee for that. It's $30 to get it printed. If you'd like a hard copy, it's an exact duplicate of the free PDF version that comes with the program. So entirely up to you, but we want to let you know that it's available. All right, let's see. I think that is everything. Let's check our chat window. Looks like Matt's answered most of these. I don't know. Let's see one. We'll check with Matt to see if we've missed anything here. Okay, the question came up, does QBI need to be paper filed? No. This year, it's just a line item on the 1040. It will be e-filed per that line item on the 1040. What I was referencing to the worksheet is the following tax year, those will be part of the e-file record, whereas this year, it's just a line item in the e-file record. So the IRS is kind of trusting you a little bit this year to make sure that you've done your due diligence to make sure that this indeed is QBI and it's 20% and it's not meeting thresholds and all those things. But no, it can be e-filed this year. and it'll be e-filed next year, and next year the worksheets will be included in the e-file record. So great question. Anything else, Matt? Section. It looks like we lost Matt on our chat window. Okay, the next gen had removed the preview of most state forms without going to the print section. Has that been restored? Yeah, your print preview is available. Just going to Idaho here. I think this is what you're talking about, at least. Your print previews are available on the state. With legacy, and I understand. Oh, that's a great question. So the question is, this person's been with legacy, and they're obviously using NextGen. How do they transfer all of their clients? NextGen reads the same exact data structure, so there is no transfer that will need to be made. You will just simply point your data path to your applicable prior year data path to where your legacy prior year folder was, and if you use the defaults, it'll find it for you automatically. But you don't have to transfer anything. Just set your data path appropriately, and you should be good to go. All right, I have next questions. All right, we have another question regarding QBI. Let me read that just a second here. Unspecified service business, line 25. Check this only if it exceeds. I would check it. Okay, so the question is, do we check the specified service business if it's below the threshold, the 250K, or I believe it's 400K for MFJ? I would check it anyway because the program's automatically going to calc to see if you're above or below the threshold. So if you're below the threshold, it's not going to hurt to check that box. Right, yeah, Mac checked that. Yeah, I think that is all of our chatted questions. I would like to thank you all for attending. Hopefully that gave you a little bit of a preview. Again, if you would like to preview it yourself, become one of our testers. It'll be available up on our download website probably sometime after the 10th, and then the normal release will probably follow a week later. So we thank you all for attending, and hopefully we'll see you at our annual seminar.